for me, AI means freedom.
Yeah.
It's not a threat. AI is going to give us time.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea to automate, to enable some of that learning, it will free us time
Yeah.
to develop deeper relationships.
Welcome to the Process Masters podcast. I'm your fellow process and workflows enthusiast, Emilia, and I'm here today with Luis Fonseca.
Thank you.
Luis is a MedTech leader who has run regional P&Ls and launched devices across Latin America and Canada. He's led teams at global players and most recently served as GM from Inari Medical in Latam and Canada. Luis also talks often about market access and the upside of growth. I'm so excited to have you here with us, Luis.
Thank you for having me, Amelia. This is a pleasure and a great opportunity to have good conversation about a topic that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So happy to be here.
I was so glad to meet Luis this week earlier at this dinner party, and we had a blast. I had a great conversation. I learned so much. So I'm excited for you here to be here with us, watching or listening, and I'm sure you can too learn so much from Luis. Luis, tell us please about your framework from idea to repeatable revenue. We all want to know, when you look at a new market, what are the first 3 signals that you check before investing?
Oh, thank you again, Amelia. So every time we have, again, there's several opportunities in front of us, right? New markets, Latin America and Canada. It's really a great chessboard for us to play in. So before deciding where to go, where to put your time and resources and money, we look at, first of all, regulations, right? I think that healthcare, differently from other industries, it's a very regulated environment. So from regulatory to quality enforcement, as well as they are very specific about how you can develop relationships in the market. So this is a first step for us, right? So how strict or how more relaxed the regulations can be. Just a quick example, you have places like Chile where regulatory regulations allow you to bring a product to the country 48 hours after it being approved in the US by the FDA, or you have places like Mexico and Brazil where it can take up to 12 to 18 months to get your product in the market. So definitely regulations is a big aspect for us. The second point that we normally look is, where is the market? What is the standard of care? What is the vast majority of your potential customers doing today? How close or how far they are from the innovation that you want to bring to the market. So you can establish how much of an effort, how much work you got to have ahead of you to really bring them from where they are to where you want them to be. And then the third piece of this is definitely how big is the pool of customers, right? Because it's a lot of nuances there. So if you have enough customers to at least start, so normally very similar to other areas that use technology, the early adopters, people that are really eager to be the innovators, how big is that pool? And then you put that all together and make a decision. So basically regulations, what's the standard of care, and how big is the pool of customers that you can start working with.
What are the green flags that you notice from start? And is there any red flag? Have you chosen not to move for this specific market, for this or that?
Yeah, so I think that a fantastic green flag is when you start working in a market and then the mouth-to-mouth starts happening, right? So you I wouldn't say you don't have to market the idea, but the idea and the innovation almost grow on itself. So your customers are so happy with the results that you're giving them that they do the marketing for you. So that for me is a phenomenal green flag. In terms of red flags, I think that when you start having either not necessarily the greatest results or you have supply issues, that you have either not planned well enough or you're growing too fast and you're not being able to catch up with supply, and then you're risking your reputation, because I think that especially in healthcare, in MedTech, the area that I work more, you need to be sure that you start with the best outcomes,
Yeah.
because the easiest way to really bury a therapy is to have bad results in the beginning. So we're very careful with that. So supply issues for me is normally a red flag. Some people will call it a happy problem. I would say there's no
Not,
such
not
thing,
really.
because you're not fulfilling the need. So you're creating dissatisfaction, and also sometimes opening a window for the competition to go right in.
True, true. Yeah, it's a very specific market. You
Yes,
want to have this demand, but at the same time, you want to fulfill it, right?
absolutely.
You don't want frustration
We,
from
we,
your.
we say that we're very selfish. We don't want to
Yeah.
leave anything for anybody.
I don't blame you. Yeah. So, what are your first days? Let's say your first 90 days. What does it look like when you come into this new market in terms of partners, compliance, standards, KOLs, training? How do you do this first playbook, your
Oh,
first 90
yeah.
days?
Well, again, putting aside the whole regulatory framework that we just talked about, so assuming that, okay, my product is approved,
Yeah.
right? So from a commercial standpoint, a regulatory standpoint, or regulatory availability, you're ready. We start by deciding how I'm going to go to the market. Am I going to direct? So I'm going to build my own team. I'm going to have an infrastructure and service that market, which normally is very related to size and potential.
Okay.
And then you can either go direct, you can go with a partner. Normally we have a distributor or multiple distributors. And also you have go-to markets where you go a little bit hybrid. So that's for us the first decision, especially when you want to start, right? Obviously, that go-to-market decision can evolve with time as the market grows and you get penetration. But in the beginning, that's a key decision for us. After you do that, we do what we call champion mapping. What's a champion? Champion is somebody in that early adopter part of the curve that really believes in what you're bringing to the market and is willing to work with you to use the therapy the way you want them to, and also help you advocate and evangelize others. So he's almost like your insider in the medical world to help you bring that innovation to market. So it's very, go ahead.
So yeah, I wanna to unpack that a little bit. So how do you recognize the potential for such a champion like that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it is really important. So what are the aspects of a champion that really make them differentiate themselves from other physicians or other customers that they may be willing to use? But the big differentiator is like they want to go the extra mile. They want to, almost, we say sometimes, they want to fight for you, right? So they're willing to go speak on your behalf. They want to go to other specialties. They want to also spend their time and sometimes their political brand to go and negotiate on your behalf or together with you with administrators, with payers. So it's somebody who really, as we say in Brazil, my original country, they put the shirt on, right? They really represent you in front of colleagues
Yeah.
and also other stakeholders in the market.
And what's in it for them in that case? I mean, they want to be the innovators, they have this early adopter mindset, and they want to be recognized for using that innovation, that new technology. Is that it?
There is, again, normally there is a mix, right? But I think that one is this passion to bring innovation that represents, in our case for healthcare, better outcomes, right? So they are advocating on behalf of the patients. They see that the patients could do a lot better. So they really believe in that and they want to be part of that innovation. And obviously, there's also some sort of recognition, right? And in some cases, when you bring a therapy that is very innovative, it's almost like branching out, right? It's opening a new niche for themselves within either a medical specialty or some areas of care. And obviously that represents professional recognition as well as sometimes a opportunity, a business opportunity. In the case of hospitals and some other players, it is an opportunity to open a new niche, to open a new market and differentiate yourselves from the rest out there.
That's really interesting. We are talking about MedTech, about hospitals here, but the playbook that Luis is laying out for us, I see it. It can be used by many different industries. I think of so many tech innovations, and we want to branch out. We want to not have only your innovation, your new tech, your startup, let's say, working on your local market, but you want to go abroad. You want to have customers everywhere. So the what you're bringing is, of course, it's a very specific market. You have the regulations, everything that you just mentioned to us. But I definitely see a way through for other, like people listening to us and seeing us here. They can definitely use a lot from this playbook and learn a lot from this playbook independently on the market they work
I
with.
hope so.
And one specific is the distributor part that you mentioned that I think it's tricky for everyone. How do you avoid dependency? You mentioned that you can work with distributors and then maybe change the playbook according to how you grow. So how do you do that exactly?
Yeah, as you said, it is a tricky part of it. But I think that first of all, it's to dimension the market and see how big is truly the opportunity.
Yeah.
What is the investment required to go after that opportunity? And also the other important part here, Amelia, is the opportunity really monolithic, or can you segment that opportunity? Because if the opportunity has different shapes, and we have the private market here, we have the public market, we have some regions that are a little different, especially in bigger markets like Canada, Brazil, or Mexico. It's certainly an opportunity for you to think about dividing how you go and conquer, right? Sometimes going with just one partner, one distributor carries its own risk, right? So if the opportunity has enough segments for you to play in, my suggestion would be look into multiple partners if possible, right? But then if the market's small, or other markets who are normally demographically small, you can say places like, I don't know, either Argentina right now, which used to be a big market, but due to the economic situation has a little bit of a challenge. Colombia right now. So some of those smaller markets, potentially because of the investment, it's worth taking the risk to go with one distributor.
Okay.
But then the flip side of it is you will be working much closer because you have more risks on the table for you as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. So there is one practical and specific from the health care market, the medtech market, that is reimbursements and the attachment of reimbursements to growth. So how do you link it to pricing, to demand gen, to sales enablement?
Yes, no, it's a fantastic point, because in healthcare, people talk a lot about B2B and B2C as business models, right? In healthcare, we have what we call a multi-customer sale, right? Because at one point in time, for example, in order for you to make a sale in healthcare, you need to bring the physician, the hospital, the payer, right? Sometimes it's the insurance and the other players, and sometimes even the patient to the table. So it is a lot of people, a lot of players that you need to bring in. So that is, it's very key. And for all of them, you're talking about reimbursement. It needs to be commercially viable. For me, when people say, "Oh, does this therapy has reimbursement or not?" What I hear in the back of my head is this commercially viable for all the ones involved? Because then if you define very well that viability, that feasibility from a commercial standpoint, your sale is going to go through much easier. If you have to explain and then go through hoops and people don't understand your numbers, what's in it for me, then your sale is going to be much harder.
It goes to what we were talking earlier prior to this recording session here, the difference between price and value, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you differentiate that, and why pricing is not exactly the number you want to present?
It's interesting because every time any of my sales team come to me and say, "Oh, we need to give them price," and I'm like, "Well, I'm very sorry, he's not gonna have price." And they're like, "Whoa, Well, because I don't believe in price. I believe in value, right? It's like why people pay what people pay for an iPhone, what people pay for a Tesla,
Yeah.
and so on. It's because they recognize value, right?
Yeah.
Value it sometimes is subjective, sometimes is pragmatic. In healthcare, we believe it's almost 90% of the times is very pragmatic because you're dealing with people's lives and outcomes. So we want to be very specific about it. So when we talk about value in healthcare is,
Mhm.
am I, for example, for the hospital, am I optimizing your resources? Is the patient staying less in the hospital? Is the
Mhm.
patient consuming less of your resources so you can have a better financial situation with treating this patient, this specific disease? If you go to the physician, is
Mhm.
your professional services being recognized in the right way for treating this disease this way? And then for the patient and the payer is what you're thinking financially, because the payer sometimes it's so detached from the patient,
Mhm.
they see a little bit more, I would say, on a in a colder way, the numbers.
Yeah.
So is this, am I saving you money?
Mhm.
So the way that we normally present numbers is more focused on what's the value that I'm bringing for you, Mr. Customer, depending who you
Mhm.
are, more than just the price of the
Mhm.
device or the procedure, so and so and so forth.
Yeah, and so many layers too,
Oh
right? You have
yes,
to present this. It's a multitude of facets that you have to
yes, yes.
figure
It's
out
a
prior
lot. It's
to.
a lot of cooks in the kitchen for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing how we can relate to so many other markets as well. But going back to your playbook and your strategy for go to market, I want to know how you turn strategy into routines with a team. That's a topic that I'm pretty much passionate about leadership and a routine that the leaders can have. Let's say you have a team of 10 to let's say up to 60 person, a
Okay.
field team. What is your must have or what are your must have rhythms with them? Let's say weekly pipeline, win loss, hospital onboarding. What are you looking at and how do you keep up the pace with a
Now,
team
yeah,
this
again,
big?
as the teams grow bigger, the communication.
Yeah.
So, I normally like to spend a lot of time in the field with the team, and I like to ask my sales reps questions
Hmm.
about topics that I have discussed with the managers and directors and so on,
Yeah.
just to see how the information is really
Yeah.
percolating down in the organization. So,
Yeah.
and I think that to be on top of that communication is really key, because that's how people understand the strategy, understand the vision, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And we normally say that um, if you can't see the house ready, you won't be able to put up with the construction period. So for me, it's really key that the people that is dealing with the customers on the front line
Yeah.
know exactly what we're going after. So
Hmm.
how to do that? So normally with my team, my direct team, I have for sure weekly one-on-ones
Okay.
and communications in between. I lose a lot of text and in our case WhatsApp and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
understand that they can find me at any point in any time, and I'm committed to answer quickly, because I tell them what I can provide you guys is what I expect you guys to provide to our customers. So if I give you my time, is because I expect you to also give your time the same way to customers. So weekly one-on-ones
Yeah.
with the team, and then I do monthly meetings with the whole team. So
Uh-huh.
everybody really, that everybody understands, oh, you're part of a bigger team. You're
Yes.
not one branch out in the big
Mm-hmm.
tree. And
Mm-hmm.
in those meetings, we share pretty much all the information: where we are, what are against our goals, what's the health of the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
We love to share customer success
Mm-hmm.
stories
Mm-hmm.
and also sales teams success stories. I call it create legends,
Mm-hmm.
because then it's interesting to see how the sales team like to talk about, oh, you saw so and so, you saw so and so, he's doing great. So there's a little bit of a professional jealousy, but also a professional team pride mixed
Yeah.
into that cocktail. So we really like to incentivize that. And then on a quarterly basis,
Uh-huh.
have the team, mostly my direct team and a couple of the other leaders that we consider at that point in time that needs to be exposed to this conversation. and really sit down
Mm.
and really look in the results
Mhm.
at the results in
Do
a
do that in
detailed manner.
person? That
I
quarterly
I
one?
like to do that in person.
That's
I'm
really cool.
still a strong believer that the human relationships play a strong role
Yeah.
in what we do. I know that we came again away from COVID thinking that
Mm-hmm.
the world could be virtual
Mm.
and Zoom and Teams would solve our problems. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to say I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
like to be in person and I like to bring the team together
Yeah.
because I think that to feel part of a team, it's really hard to achieve without seeing and having a conversation
Yeah.
and having a drink after the conversation in the bar. So I really believe in those relationship building moments, if you want. So I try to do the quarterly meetings always in person, right?
Wow, I absolutely love it. I love everything that I heard. From the rhythm, I mean, let's unpack this. From the keeping it, it's a weekly thing, which turns into a monthly thing, which turns into a quarterly ritual. So keeping it, this rhythm, this routine, super important. I also heard example. I mean, you
Yeah.
are the example for this team. So the way you treat them, that's the way they will treat the customer. I love that. And on top of that, prioritizing them,
Yes.
prioritizing time with them, prioritizing um, in-person meetings as well. I think that's also what they will give to the customer in the end, right?
That's the hope. Yes.
Relationship is everything nowadays, specifically in the
Yes,
MedTech market.
absolutely. Again, I think
Yeah.
that again, the whole conversation right now, there's a tons of conversation about AI and how AI is going to replaces this and replaces that. I think that we need to put things on its right place, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that AI brings a lot of value to
Mm-hmm.
all of us,
Yeah.
but I think that we also need to recognize that AI is going to give us time.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea to automate,
Mm-hmm.
to enable some of that learning, the way I see it at least is it will free us time
Yeah.
to develop deeper relationships, to spend more time with the team, with your customers, and even with your own family. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that for me, AI means freedom.
Yeah.
It's not a threat.
Yeah.
But because I'm so focused on the relationship thing, and I think that if you give the example, they will potentially replicate. If you don't, it
There's no
won't
way.
happen.
Yeah, there's no way. That's amazing. And when you speak on AI, I just remembered I heard this speech, this talk from this specialist on AI, and she was mentioning that when Excel, when the spreadsheets
Yes.
first came by, people were like, "Oh, now my job will be replaced, and you know what? I will do what I used to do in a week. I can do it in 2 days, and then I'll have 3 days free." I think most people are approaching AI like that. Like, oh, I
Absolutely.
don't know about you, but after Excel, after spreadsheets, we actually started working more.
Oh my lord! I worked with Microsoft for a while, and I used to
Yeah.
say that Excel and PowerPoints are really dangerous tools because
Yeah.
it just makes us work more. Because
Isn't
I
it?
think it brings the standard up. It
Yeah.
raises the bar. So now with AI, as you said, with Excel spreadsheets, I think that the risk is the same.
Yeah.
We will want to do more,
Mm.
not necessarily. So, oh, this is going to be taken care of. I don't think
Exactly,
so.
more and better. I mean,
Yes.
bringing it to an example on hospital onboarding. Let's say if you use a light agent to automate, let's say document checks or red flags routing or signature reminders, maybe you can have your team focusing more on the clinicians.
Oh,
Is that
absolutely.
right?
Yes. I think that there's again the healthcare world has the exact same processes and workflows and flows that any other companies would have
Yeah.
in finance, in HR, in operations. But then you have additional ones, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have all the reporting, you have all the electronic medical records, you have a ton of information that you need to provide to your suppliers, but also to the regulators and
Yeah.
to the government. So there's a ton more work to be automated,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a ton more data, right?
Yeah.
So those two things combined, more processes and more data, I think that when they are put together, it automatically means more opportunity for automation and
Mm.
for intelligence to be added to the whole thing.
That's true. Now, Luis, can you walk us through a case story? Someone that you maybe um, a case where you were at this point on day zero, and then you turn that specific metric for the customer once you came in, and what metric was that? I mean, I want more narrative, adding
Okay.
narrative to all of the amazing stories that you just brought us.
No, it's okay. So one that pops up, I was brought in to this situation, to this opportunity, because the company at hand was having a real hard time with one specific product, and they were losing about 20% of their inventory on a monthly basis. The
My
product
goodness.
had a short due life for questions in the manufacturing front. So they were losing 20% of their inventory. And this product had a pretty high cost, right? So obviously, besides the problem that you're not being able to service patients, you're losing a ton of money. So I was brought in, and right out of the bat, we diagnosed the situation, and we were losing 20%, as we said. So we created a dedicated team. So I had a team working with me, and we would start the day at 6:15, 6:30 every day. And we would have a map. Originally, we started doing it manually, and we would know the procedures that were scheduled for that market that day and 3 days ahead. So we would know which procedures were scheduled, which physicians were involved, and we created a database that we would know which were the measurements, the types of devices that each physician used the most. So we had some sort of a trend curve applied to that. So we would redistribute the inventory almost daily
Wow.
so that we could increase our heating ratio in terms of, we bring the device to the procedure and we use that device, right? Because in healthcare, in some areas, you have 20, 25 sizes because your arteries changes in size, because your organs change, so on and so forth, because difference in anatomy. So it's not only, I bring one product to that procedure. You have to bring a multitude of devices. So we really narrowed that down. And after 6 months doing that on a daily basis, we were able to, one, automate the process, create a customer database, and bring the write-off down from 20% to 3%.
Wow.
Yeah, it was again, I tell people that for me, that was a operational MBA on a crunch, but it was really good.
Yeah, 6 months, but look at the results.
Yes.
I mean, wow. Yeah, it's something that you cannot afford not to do.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that, again, for that specific company, and then we used that same case and we replicated around the region. It was really nice.
And you were mentioning the necessity of learning so much from the movements and how this customer, that area or the region actually needs the product and how is the demand. I was thinking, it got me thinking, when you're moving this new technology from the US to a specific market, I mean, there are nuances that you must have. I can imagine here, you're bringing a new product into market and it has a success in the US, and you might think, well, let me bring this to Latin America. Let me bring this to Canada. I'll use the same playbook. It might work. Does it, Luis? Does it work?
Well, normally it doesn't, right? I
Yeah.
think that, again, I normally start my conversations with my U.S. counterparts, explaining that, look, the U.S. in healthcare, it's more of an exception than a rule. So one of the things, for example, normally we sit down, they like to start with Brazil because, 200 million people, huge opportunity. And they like, talk to me about Brazil. And I'm like, yes. Could we be a little bit more specific? And they're like, well, what do you mean? Which Brazil do you want to talk about, right? Because the healthcare system in the U.S., it's very uniform, right? So even though you have Medicare and Medicaid and private payers, you mostly work with the hospital. You don't work with the hospital deal with the payer. So your negotiations are, one, regardless of what kind of patients you're serving at the end of the day, in terms of where the
If
funding is
it's
coming.
West Coast or East
It's the
Coast,
same.
doesn't matter.
It's
Okay.
very, it's very, I would say, standardized, right? But
Okay.
then you move to places like Brazil. You start the conversation saying, "Oh, we want to talk about the private market, or we want to talk about the public market," because they are, one talks about 25% of the population, the other one talks about 75% of the population. But then you go down and everything is different.
Yeah.
Regulatory is different. Reimbursement is different. How you go to the hospitals, how you get your logistics set up, it's very different. And even places like Canada, right? The north, the north border, and they say, well, Canada, they speak English, right? Well, yeah, but it pretty much stops there
Yeah.
because Canada doesn't have a national healthcare
Yeah.
system.
They speak
Everything,
English, but the health
but
system is similar to
yes, and the
Brazil.
people in Quebec will tell you, we don't speak English,
Yeah.
right? So
True.
it's very provincial. So
Yeah.
decisions are made at the provincial level. So it's almost like you have 10 healthcare systems under the one country. So I think that the first nuance that we normally spend more time explaining how to bring medical devices from American companies to outside of the US is like, let's understand the segments of the market and how to go about them. And then we go back to that same framework that we just discussed and decide which ones we're going to attack first.
Yeah, that's really smart. I mean, you gotta understand the country specific nuances, the cultural habits, even,
Yes.
right? Can you give us examples between? And I think we were talking about Brazil or Canada, but I've seen this in other industries where people are like, "Oh, I'll bring my solution to Latin America," and as if it was as simple as that.
Yeah, I know. And I think that sometimes people say, I can sell it on the web. And we're like, well, I don't know about that. But I think that one big difference, Emilia, is how you create trust, right? I think that trust, going back to we're still
Yeah.
human beings and relationships are
True.
all-time high. I think that trust is an important asset. And how do you establish trust? I think that in the US, or at least my reading of it, I'm not an expert on anthropology, much less, but my reading of it and my experience living here for a long time is the US society believes at first, right? So they give you trust
Okay.
from the get going. That's why I believe so many transactions in the US are closed on the phone, right? Without people. And in Latin America, it's not like that. People in Latin America and Canada and other places, they distrust first. So you need to win that person over, win that person's trust. And in healthcare is even more relevant because you're dealing with people's lives. You're dealing sometimes with the physician reputation. A physician will tell you, I have been doing this for the last 15 years. And you come here today and say that I should be doing this different. You're going to have to work a lot harder to explain to me why I should be doing this. And that work starts by establishing trust. So I think that there is a very relevant cultural difference there, especially for American companies, is you need to establish trust first and then businesses start. So I think that for me, and again, I have been working as a bridge between the US and other countries, Latin America, Canada, and others for the last 20 years. And that is a very important part of every briefing that I give to executives coming to visit customers outside of the US. Like, let's work on the trust part first. Your title helps. My introduction will certainly help, but let's have a conversation to establish rapport and trust first. Then we talk business.
Okay, that's so helpful. I mean, any case in any industry, people would have that.
I think
like
so,
in terms
yes.
of expanding. Yeah, definitely. Regulations, all the bureaucracy may be different, but yeah, the relations and the trust first. Subtlety that you just mentioned, I think that's spot on. Being from Brazil myself, I can definitely state to that. So one thing that I wanted to ask you as well, Luis, taking the opportunity, Let's talk about growth that survives after launch. Because one thing is like, it's a novelty, it's an innovation, let's try it, right? And then you have a spike of growth. But in the end, how do you come up with a playbook or a step by step movement that actually helps this new product or new process stick in that new market?
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question because it's sometimes when I say when you launch, right? Everybody's really hyped, everything
Yeah.
is gung ho, and then comes either the slump down or the slump up, right? And then I think that both are dangerous if not planned for, because
Even the slump up
I think that the
should
slump
be,
up is even more dangerous
look at that.
because then people get arrogant, right? It's like I have seen many companies, and again, there's a ton of business cases out there saying that success sometimes is not a good thing because it makes you complacent, it makes you sometimes arrogant, and the experts could say that that's why there's a lot of companies that are very successful in one industry, but not as successful in the second wave of that same industry because they are so successful in the first movement, in the first moment, that they don't take care of all the things that you need to take care. And what are those things? Coming back to your question. So, for me, the first thing that I normally use is establish a vision of success, right? It's like, what does success looks like in the long term? Don't You're gonna have shorter term goals for sure, but keep the vision of what you're trying to do in the long run really present. Because again, the slump up, the short success may dazzle you, but it could never take you away from where you want to go, right? It's like we're very soccer driven and the World Cup is coming. It's like, oh, I won my first games. No, my goal is to win
The
the
championship.
whole thing. So don't get complacent, don't get arrogant, keep your discipline up. And then in that regard, I think that there's two things that I look for very much. One is team rightness and readiness. And in Luis, I don't get your English. Rightness doesn't exist. I'm like, no, it's okay. Is the team that you're putting together the right fit in terms of skills, in terms of how they work together for that opportunity? And then get them ready. Give them the training, give them the tools, give them the information. So for me, that is really, really, really important. Some people focus too much on the product and not so much on the teams. And I'll go back to that whole relationship. If you're doing in healthcare like we're doing, have them trained, have them ready to support physicians. In some other industries, it could be the customer service team, it could be the tech support team, it could be the consultants, but have the team really ready. So that's one. The other thing is, and then I establish a short-term goal. And I like to divide that, in our case, for healthcare, in three dimensions. How is that goal look for the doc, the physician that you're going to interact individually? How is that goal going to look for the account or the hospital or the bigger customer? And how is that going to look for the group of customers? Because then, for example, if you're looking at procedure volume, I want to see how each physician is doing. I want to see how the hospital is doing. And I want to see how the group of customers in the same region are doing. Because, again, going back to the slump up, is easy to get kind of, we're selling a lot. Yeah, but where and to who? Is it a blip? Is it across my customer base? So that's why I normally try to put that goal in three dimensions, really to keep me humble and to keep me in check on how we're going down.
Bringing more of your leading metrics, your input metrics,
Yes.
more than the output that could be lagging too, right? Like if
Absolutely.
you're looking at revenue, you're looking at your rearview mirror and you're not looking forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is really important for us. Then what I try to establish is we need to have at least 95% or more of therapy success. So if I'm bringing a new therapy, I want that therapy to be effective in 95 or more of the patients that are using it. Because I'll go back to that green flag of the mouth to mouth. That's how you establish that. Success really brings success. So good outcomes with patients and physicians, in our case, will bring that mouth to mouth, that positive repercussion, that positive spiral that we're looking for in the short term, but also in the long run. Then the other part of my framework here is data obsession. You probably noticed I want to know everything. I want to know who's doing what and when and how. So we try to capture all the data, and then I think that have good processes to capture that data. I want to know who is doing it, how are they doing it, what's their satisfaction, what have they used, how have they used, because sometimes for the same procedure, you may use different techniques. So I want to know. So I want that data because what I then do with that data is like really go deep and understand basically two things. What are the success patterns? So what do we see in common in that is the cases that are doing well? But most importantly, and again, being very careful with this lump up and this lump down. What are the failure patterns, right? I'm not just focusing one or focusing on the other, but I really want to understand what's repeatable in the success patterns that I can do more, and what should I watch out? Is it the team readiness? Is it the positioning? Is it the pricing? Is it the way that we're going?
You're always looking to what to repeat and what to fix.
Absolutely.
So it's always be learning. That's in the end, you go back to learning at all times.
And I think that obsession is what keeps us humble in avoiding that, we have it on the slump up. But at the same time, when you have the slump down right out of the bat, you're like, no. We know what's going on and we can fix it. So try to be realistic about, and I think the data is the best way to because then if not, you're going to go to the opinions and subjective, that's not a good way to conduct businesses. And then once you have done that, it's like, as we say, get the team together, present it to the team, get the feedback. Okay, where do we need to adjust? Make the adjustments. Let's go out again.
I love that. Luis, thank you so much. I mean, I learned so much from you. And for you here listening to us, watching us, pick one process that Luis showed us so many options here. Either to go to market, to a new market, either to come back to your team and prepare your team better. Pick one process and run it. Run it for the next 7 days. And then please come back and tell us about it. Luis, where can people keep touch with you? Where they can connect with you and keep learning from you?
The usual, I think that the usual channels, there's nothing different. I have my profile public on LinkedIn as well as on Instagram. You guys can find me, Luis Fonseca. Happy to establish contacts and share whatever I can that people find useful in my experience and learn from others as well.
That's amazing. We wish you the best. I hope that the technology, the innovations that you're bringing make Latin America and Canada's health system much, much better. So thank you for this. Thank you for doing such an amazing job. And thank you for sharing everything with us. You were so candid and so kind. And I hope to see you next.
No, absolutely. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Looking forward to our next conversations.
Awesome. Thank you for watching and for listening. And we'll see each other again at the next Process Masters podcast.